Marchesano here on the left and Ross Merriam on the right. It's a big opportunity for me here, Ryan. We have been playing bingo all weekend. A player getting to 10 poison counters is one of my unchecked squares here. That would make a win across the top row here.
Merriam wisely wins the die roll. Really important in these matchups with these fast combo decks.
I like that if I win it, it'll involve checking off the square, player resolving a pirate spell. That was one of the ones that wasn't really thinking we'd check off this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Nick presenting these matchups as the feature matches was influenced slightly by Matthias.
That would be ridiculous, and intellectually, it'd be really competitively dishonest to do anything like that.
So you admit to being dishonest.
I'm saying using influence to try to win
doing the thing you
silly
did.
game of bingo.
Doing the thing you did was wrong.
There'd be no honor in such a victory. Marco will cast Gitaxian Probe. We see Ross's hand here. It looks like it was a mulligan to 6. But Brainstorm, Ponder, Cabal Therapy, Lion's Eye Diamond, and a second land.
This hand's missing kind of a lot of stuff, to be entirely honest. Can't make a ton of mana. Don't have a way to win the game.
Right, I mean, you could set up for a turn 3 win, something like that with this hand. The Lion's Eye Diamond would enable an Infernal Tutor, but Marco's going to attempt to go faster. Here is Glistener Elf, turn 1 off a Forest.
Yeah, you gotta jump the hurdle of not losing on turn 2.
Or you can just get 10 poison counters.
Come on, Ross. Don't disappoint me again.
There's an Invigorate in Marco's hand. Ross will start on Brainstorm. Picks up a fetch land. We see a black spell here, Lotus Petal and land. So there are some duresses in Ross. That should stop him from losing on turn 2 here.
Yeah, you can lead with the duress, and then if things are really dire, you can play the Lotus Petal for a Cabal Therapy to buy some time.
Ross looks like he can put back both lands, he has 3 lands total right now. He'll keep that Scalding Tarn.
Yep, definitely want to shuffle these lands away.
Exactly 1 wasteland in Marco's list, so Ross can be pretty aggressive with his lands here.
Also, once you already have 1 non-basic,
might as well.
Generally go for a second one anyway.
Ross gets a second Underground Sea. Looks like multiple Brainstorms and a Force of Will in Marco's hand.
Depending on whether there's some pump spells, duress hitting the Force and then follow up therapy for the Brainstorms could be a big play here for Merriam.
Here's duress from Ross. Does Marco respond? He could force it. If he doesn't, he'll lose the Force, and Ross can, at the cost of a Lotus Petal, he could therapy away the Brainstorms. So we'll see Marco's hand. Blighted Agent, Invigorate, Force of Will, Ponder, Brainstorm, Brainstorm. No blue mana, actually, for Marco. Hold on a second here.
Okay. That makes it so you don't really have to therapy those Brainstorms.
How do you feel about taking Invigorate?
Invigorate and Force of Will are the 2 options, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like, it's the only castable card.
Yep.
Ooh.
Invigorate only converts to lethal if you add Berserk to the mix.
Okay. Well, he's going to do it, though. He's going to take the only green card.
He's looking at it.
Yeah. And that'll be the selection.
He still has therapy, so he can cast that on his combo turn.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to therapy the Brainstorms right now. Marco needs to show that he has an island before Ross would make that play.
Yep.
I think Inkmoth Nexus, the draw for Marco. He attacks for 1 poison. Ross goes to 1.
Yeah, there are worse draws, but it's not a great one.
Yeah, that'll be the play. And he'll say go. This is a big window for Ross. He does need to find a payoff spell, however. He doesn't have one just yet. But he has a Ponder. He'll go looking. He has to play around 1 Force of Will right now.
Which his Cabal Therapy should make relatively easy.
Right. I'd love to find an Infernal Tutor here. You know, he doesn't, even if he binds an Infernal Tutor, he doesn't need to even go for a combo this turn if he wants to wait for those lands to untap. There's not 1 card out of Marco that's really going to change the equation here.
Yeah, and Ross does have to lead on that therapy. He's not set up to beat the Force of Will without it. Makes a lot of sense to untap this land he's using to cast the Ponder and have access to that. He's tapping the second land for the therapy, not great.
Hand looks to be a Diamond, Scalding Tarn, Cabal Therapy. One of them. So the payoffs he's looking for, using a shuffle. I mentioned he'd like to find infernal tutor. There aren't that many great draws for him right now.
Yeah, Infernal Tutor is really the big one. Redrawing into a cantrip is not bad from here.
Yeah, he doesn't have rituals outside the lion's eye diamond. Something just like finding the ad nauseam is not great. After shuffling, Ross finds another fetch land, so that's a miss for him. He'll just play a land and say go.
Yeah.
If Marco keeps missing on land drops, Ross can just keep playing a land and eventually they're just producing mana that way.
Though this is a spot even without pump spells. Infect does close pretty quickly.
Yeah, Noble Hierarch was the draw for Marco. Ross still has perfect information on the hand. Marco attacks for 2 poison, Ross goes to 3. But because he's played Inkmoth and Noble, Ross has perfect info.
Yep.
And the Noble doesn't really speed up the clock here, but it does mean next turn Marco will have blue mana available. So Ross will cast Probe. He already knows the cards. Draws into Ponder. Could still find his Infernal Tutor.
Yeah, after making all these land drops, he's pretty able to combo from here if he finds what he needs.
Finds Cabal Ritual. Doesn't have that payoff yet. But he'll keep them on top and draw. Finds Brainstorm. Cracks a fetch land. This feels like he's liked what he finds though.
Possible he does still have that other fetch land. Possibly he's just digging very aggressively this turn.
So he's resetting the top of his deck so that Brainstorm's fresh. Okay. He already knew the top 2 from that Ponder. Now he'll cast Brainstorm.
Yeah, when we go to Marco's next turn, when he can Brainstorm, there's a lot of combinations that make the attack lethal next turn.
And now we have Infernal Tutor. Ross picked it up off the Brainstorm. He has spent a lot of main phase mana casting cantrips this turn, however. So you mentioned he needed to start on Cabal Therapy. If he has, this is not yet, we'll see if he can put together a win.
He might just have to try to fade on the next turn.
He hasn't made a land drop. So we'll see. Here's Polluted Delta. He's got Brainstorm in hand. And he'll just say go.
Doing some counting.
Okay. No, we're still, okay. He's figuring it out. We'll stay with him. And his Therapy, Infernal Tutor, Brainstorm, Lion's Eye Diamond. Storm's at 3 right now. Just let on Gitaxian Probe this turn. And here's Cabal Therapy. So that's going to name the Force of Will. And Marco, because he doesn't want to add to Ross's Storm, he'd rather just let it get taken here than cast it.
He might actually be naming Brainstorm. We'll wait for confirmation on that. Wait to see if it even resolves.
Right, so in this situation, though, if you're in Marco's spot, you wouldn't force it, though, because of the Storm? Or would you to protect your Brainstorm?
Ross has already made his land drop. He has a low number of cards in hand and just 1 mana left over. I think that Ross missed on his combo and is scared.
Okay. And you have an extra Blighted Agent to get rid of.
The Brainstorm can convert to lethal in a few different ways if you draw some pump spells.
He's going to let it resolve. Ross names Force of Will. So Blighted Agent, Ponder, Brainstorm, Brainstorm. And then Ross says go. So, can Marco convert? He draws another Brainstorm. He's got 1 blue mana here. And that's going to be Ponder. I was a bit surprised to not see him Brainstorm on this. I know Ponder sees 1 more card, technically, but...
Yeah, given the fact that you won't be able to cast these other blue cards unless you find a land, which is not what you're looking for with your Ponder, possible that he just wants to find some more interactive spells, not going for the win this turn.
Yeah, if the top 3 of your deck is another fetch land, Brainstorm's going to outperform Ponder by quite a bit here.
Yeah.
You see Invigorate and Become Immense. This, if he had brainstormed into this, I believe this would be lethal.
Yeah, you get this card going. This cantrip is the 4th card in the graveyard. The Invigorate's the 5th. Then you can cast Become Immense. Yeah, that would have been lethal.
Yeah, so it's going to be a miss for Marco here by leading on Ponder. No way to really recover from it here, however. So now the question is, what's his best play? You know, and I'm sure he sees that on top and thinks, man, okay, Brainstorm would have gotten this, but he has to recover. It is what it is. Attacks, he exalts up to a 2/2, and no play would put Ross to 5 poison.
Yep, Invigorate just 1 shy of doing it.
Yeah, is there a reason to not just dump the Invigorate anyway, put him to 9?
Actually, 1, 2. Become Immense cost 6, right? He could have just done that. Kept that one with the Ponder and shoved?
I believe so. It looks that way, that he could have shoved on that. Yeah.
Pretty big misstep for Marco.
Well, we'll see if Ross can capitalize. Leads off on Brainstorm.
Yeah, there's Infernal Tutor.
Okay, and with Ross could have attempted a combo last turn. He really just needed these 3 lands to reset, to untap here, and I think Ross will get there.
Yep, there's a Ritual hanging out now. Still has Lion's Eye Diamond. Looks to be enough stuff. No way you can pass the turn here.
No, I mean, if you're in Ross spot, you definitely know this is your last turn. So, Storm up to 3 for Dark Ritual, up to 4 for another Dark Ritual, 5 black mana floating, up to 6 for Infernal Tutor. Doesn't even need to crack Lion's Eye Diamond. 3 black mana floating. This is spell number 6. This is spell 5. We'll get a confirmation here.
He's cast a bunch of rituals.
Yeah.
It's got a reasonable
1, 2,
Past
3,
in
4,
Flames
5.
here.
Yep. 3 black floating. Finds Past in Flames. Casts Past in Flames. This one's locked up.
Bunch of rituals. Cast Infernal Tutor again. Tendrils.
I might start.
You can Duress too.
Yeah, Duress
May as
just
well.
to be sure. I mean, at this point, it'd be strange if there was a Force of Will hiding out, but it'll flash back Dark Ritual. Get 3 black mana. That's spell 7. Flashes back Duress, spell 8. Just needs to make sure he has enough mana. Yes, he does. Gets to look at Marco's hand. You see Invigorate and a bunch of blue cards. Coast is clear. He'll, sure, take the Invigorate. Dark Ritual is spell 9. And this one ends up, he's going to flash back Infernal Tutor. Hand's still empty. That's spell 10, and that's going to find Tendrils of Agony. With Infernal Tutor on the stack, he'll make some more mana off that Lion's Eye Diamond. Find the Tendrils, and this is going to be a Tendrils with Storm of 11. That's got some extra storm on it, and Ross Merriam will take game 1.
Yep, we'll be reaching for the sideboards here.
And for Ross, we mentioned here where he was the faster deck. That's the type of game that I would generally expect Ross to lose. Now, Marco did get stuck on blue mana, and it really hampered him. He had some lines, it looked like some misses there to actually still convert the combo. But when Ross doesn't win in the first, there's this window, if Ross doesn't win on the first 2 turns, turns 3 and 4 are the real scary ones for him.
Right. Yeah, that was the game that you would really want to win if you're Marco. And Ross actually has some reasonable sideboard cards here as we look over. In his sideboard, 3 Fatal Push, 2 Dark Confidant, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Dreadnought, a Chain of Vapor, an Echoing Truth, a Hurkyl's Recall, Flusterstorm, an Empty of the Warrens, and a Caracas. So these Fatal Pushes actually play here in a big way. Whereas a Delver deck has a lot of spells that just up and down the mana curve. The Infect deck, if you get to removal spell their creatures, then they just have a bunch of pump spells that don't amount to much. So the Fatal Pushes are really nice. Technically, you could reach for Dark Confidant because your opponent's not using anything that pressures your life total, so that one's fine. I don't think it's necessarily the best matchup for it, but it plays. Chain of Vapor is pretty nice against a deck that's playing a bunch of pump spells. Pretty into that. Flusterstorm can be good for fighting over either a counter war, protecting your spells, or just stopping pump spells from getting you from the Infect player.
Yeah, now on the Infect side, he's going to have to try to interact some on the stack. He's got 2 Submerge, 2 Spell Pierced, a Blue Elemental Blast. You were looking for one of those. Ross doesn't have the red one.
Not here.
So you're close. You got half. A Crop Rotation. A Dissenter's Deliverance. That's the Cycling Shatter from Khalida. from Amonkhet, correction. Echoing Truth, Croson Grip, Piracy Charm, Surgical Extraction, Teferi's Response. That's a nice one. Tezzeret's Gambit, Bazooka Bug, and Caracas.
Just a couple things that play here, and the Spell Pierce is really the best spell. You can go for Blue Elemental Blast, you can counter Past and Flame, sometimes that can come up, not huge. Kind of into Crop Rotation and Bazooka Bog. That's another way you can cover yourself against Past and Flames. Surgical Extraction's also fine.
Yeah, I mean, I like that because you're an Inkmoth Nexus deck, it's a pretty low investment to board it in it. You know, if that was your only thing to do with Crop Rotation, I don't like it. But in the case where you don't need to bog your opponent, you can just get an Inkmoth off it.
Yeah, and this also just is a matchup where you really want to go fast. You know, we've seen previously in this tournament, and certainly when you watch enough Legacy, these blue decks struggle when they only draw counter spells. So a higher density of threats, certainly ones that cost 1 mana to convert, very important.
So yesterday, during our coverage broadcast, we debuted the Season 1 schedule for 2018, and we're going to go through that with you. We have all our stops between here and June on the SCG Tour now announced. You can find events near you. So in the January, we'll have 3 events. We're going to be playing Modern in Columbus, Standard in Dallas, and we'll have our first of 3 team events in Season 1. First one's over here on the East Coast. It's going to be in Philadelphia. We then take a break. We go to Indianapolis, in the middle of the country, for Modern. Go back over to the East Coast. We have in March, we have our Legacy Open. That's going to be March 3rd and 4th. It's in Worcester, Massachusetts. We then go to Dallas again to play Modern. We come back around here to Baltimore to play Modern in March. And then end with a second team event. This is the one in the middle of the country. It's the Cincinnati Team Open, March 24th and 25th. To round out the season, we head westward. We go to Milwaukee for Modern. We have a Standard Open in Atlanta. We have our 3rd team open back in this area. That's Baltimore Open, May 5th and 6th. Then we end with some Modern Opens in Louisville, Minneapolis, and then we have our Modern Regional Championships before our Season 1 Invitational. That's June 8th through 10th. All of these events making the top 8 will qualify you for the Season 1 Invitational in Roanoke.
Yep. Pretty stoked to see 3 team events. Love those tournaments.
All right, so game number 2 about to start here. Marco going to be on the play between the players.
Play draw, pretty important in a matchup like this.
Yeah, especially on Marco's side, where he's about a turn slower, so when he's on the play, he matches Ross's speed.
Right.
On the draw, he's well behind, has to play a defensive plan.
Don't know exactly where the averages lie, but there's just the fact that Ross can win on turn 1 and Marco can't win until turn 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's some fast combo hands Infect gets. The green heavy hands, a few with light or no disruption. On the play, I might keep those in this matchup. On the draw, I might have to send them back.
Yep. Probably just keep a turn 2 either way, if it's literally a turn 2.
Yeah, if it's literally a turn 2, sure. If it's a turn 3, I don't think I can keep that on the play. On the draw, a turn 3 plus a daze, yeah, that's probably good enough. So, both players keeping here. We see Gitaxian Probe from Marco. We'll get our first look at Ross's hand. It's 1 land, Gitaxian Probe, Dark Ritual, Lion's Eye Diamond, Fatal Push, Cabal Ritual. It's a ton of mana here.
This hand is great.
There's no payoff yet. That's it. That's the only thing he's missing.
Exactly. He has Disruption, just looking for a payoff. Gets to see Marco's hand with the Gitaxian Probe as well.
Yeah, so doesn't have to run in. That hand is liable to run into a Force of Will, but Ross won't just have to check that one blind. You know ahead of time. And Fatal Push for something like Glistener Elf.
This is a check. We'll see if Marco has that. Something like a turn 1 Noble Hierarch, much less problematic. It'll give Ross a little bit more time.
And Marco, not as threatening. No Glistener Elf. It's just going to be Ponder.
Yeah, that one, not a huge deal.
I like Ross's hand here. It goes fast. Now, if Marco's hand is very defensive, it's possible that he could play a control game against Ross. Ross doesn't have discard. He doesn't really have redundant threats. He has a lot of mana.
Yep. As things stand, Ross is a hand that's mostly driven to comboing, but doesn't even have a payoff at that. No discard spells.
You go to Ross. He'll take a look at Marco's hand. Land 2. Glistener Elf, Blue Elemental Blast, Crop Rotation, Echoing Truth, Brainstorm.
So between the draw step and what comes off of this Gitaxian Probe, this is a big window for Ross. He has a ton of mana.
There's no interaction on Marco's side. The shields are down. So if Ross has a possible turn 1, he can just go for it.
Well, How about that ad nauseum off the top?
Now he had a hand, as I recall, with a double Dark Ritual, so yeah, I'm in.
Lion's Eye Diamond kicker.
Against Infect, you don't really have to care about going really low on life points.
Also, on turn 1 of the game, you generally don't have to care about going low on life points.
Even better. We saw Caleb do it last round. Ross is going to match pace.
And because he can Ritual and Lion's Eye Diamond, there's a wider range of stuff that he can actually win the game with because he starts with so much mana from here.
Yeah, there's mana over the top of the ad nauseum, and that's so important here. We see, all right, Storm's at 1. Yeah, we're getting out the counters. This is a turn 1. Dark Ritual, Storm to 3, mana to 5. Cabal Ritual, mana to 6. Storm to 4. This is huge. Yeah. I don't know what that says, but it's not good news for Marco.
I think he is waving a white flag of surrender.
Ad nauseum for Ross. And with that on the stack, he can crack Lion's Eye Diamond. He has to pick the color now.
Choices are red or blue. Given that the fail rate would be finding just like a bunch of cantrips that deal lethal damage to him, I'd probably go for blue, but red is totally reasonable as well.
Yeah, he'll go 3 blue mana. And he's already at 6 Storm. He needs so little here. Gitaxian Probe puts him to 16. Infernal Tutor to 14. A land, can't play that. Probe to 13. Tendrils to 9. Push to 8. Ponder to 7. Infernal Tutor to 5. Okay, now he's in the danger of actually flipping a Dark Petition to lose, so he has to think about things.
Storm's at 6. We can probe, 1 mana short of pondering before we cast our Tendrils, so we have to find a Lotus Petal from there or a Dark Ritual.
Yeah, he didn't find any mana, so he can Storm to 9. Wait, Marco's at 17. Hold on.
Oh, never mind.
We
got it.
Probe, cast the Tendrils.
Yep, that'll do. Yeah, because he let out the Gitaxian Probe. Or,
Ross.
you can take a look anyway.
Ross.
I think he must have just not adjusted Marco's life total.
Sure. With the Lotus Petal,
Petal does it.
That gives him Storm 10.
Yeah, that's easy mode.
Come on, you dodged. The Justice would have been flipping the Dark Petition right there. It's been like,
that would have been another one for best of.
Best of. I'm sure Ross would love another one of those matches on Best CT Best of. He'd walk around and be like, you guys are going to play that one for 5 years, aren't you?
If you're lucky, we'll stop at 5.
Gas Sponder. Mine's Lotus Petal. He's up to Storm of 10. Another Lotus Petal, sure. Cracks that, and there's the lethal Tendrils. Ross Merriam's going to win the match. He improves to 11-3 after a tough loss round 1 against Brad Carpenter. Ross has been perfect on the day. He wins this one and moves up to 11-3.